Welcome back, friends, for another exciting, amazing Testimony Tuesday. I am Jasmine Wilson, and today I have the privilege of speaking with Brooke. Brooke, thank you so much for chatting. I'm really excited about this opportunity and everything that we're going to get to discuss.
Me too. I just pray that we have a true, authentic conversation and that it helps someone too.
How would you define obedience in this season of life for you?
Obedience to me is always, I feel like it's what we've had since childhood. For me, it's do right and right things will happen. It also looks to me, for me, obedience is if I am thinking through decisions and thinking through and praying through those decisions, my obedience will come and show from that. So it's halfway part action and then halfway part what I'm doing. And so for me, I'm not always good in that. I'm not always good in doing the action part and doing the praying part. Like I battle and I struggle with the praying part all the time. Like my go-to is to handle any situation by myself independently. So for me, obedience is a struggle because, like, again, I want to do it by myself. I want to do it immediately. I don't want it to become a problem. And so my obedience looks like on a scale of 1 to 10, like I need a lot of work. And it's always been, a struggle for me. It's always been something that's in the forefront, but I'm always trying to better myself at it, if that makes sense.
How do you respond when you are obedient and you don't get that thing you were praying for, or like the answer is no or not right now?
So it's crazy that you said that. I've been struggling with a area of my life and I won't go into much detail about it. However, my prayer was always that I wanted it to be whatever God's plan was, of whatever God's designed destiny for it. Although deep down it was like, I want this. This is something that I truly want. And there was no answer. And I was reading a book recently. We were reading a book at church called Draw the Circle. And one of the points was that a no answer is an answer. So not to necessarily say, hear God say no, him not responding is an answer.
Yeah.
And so through all of this time that me being, me praying, and I'm not hearing anything, I didn't take that as it's a no, or, it's a not right now. For me, that was, I need to keep praying about it. Yeah. However, in the back of it all, God was like, no, girl, this is not for you. You need to move on, or you need to, better yourself. And that didn't sit well with me. My response to that was get on the floor, throw a temper tantrum, and have a fit about it. And truly, like, show God that you're angry, and show whoever else is looking that you're angry. But then I had to think about, like, what does that solve? I'm now wasting my time on the situation when he could be blessing me with so many other things. And then I don't even look at the things that he is blessing me with as something that's positive. I'm like, I want this one thing and I want it now. And so because I didn't get that, I was angry. So now I'm wasting so much vital time. I could be wasting that with my son. And I say waste, but I can be spending time with my son. I can be spending building my friendships. Heck, I could be bettering myself in all of this. And I wasn't. So it was a very much so pivotal point where I had to grow up. Like, I had to literally see how far I am from my obedience level. Like, I have so much to learn about obedience, and I have so much to learn about their responses, because the responses are actually going to and praying about it and, going through the process of being obedient. So I have to get myself from infancy, or from that lower level of maturity when it comes to the response side of obedience. Of being obedient, because I struggle in that area a lot. And I didn't really think about it until, recently.
So hearing you talk about that reminded me of my season of unemployment. I've been praying for a job for a long time. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, God, I'm fasting for this job. I'm praying for this job. I'm in community for this. Like, everyone I know is praying for me for this job. Like, why am I not getting this job? And then I think one day I was talking to someone about it, and they were like, God's silence is your answer. Like, there's something else you should be focusing on right now other than trying to get this job. And now that I reflect back on it, like, that was the time that for me, I needed to learn how to sacrifice. I needed to learn how to serve others. I needed to learn how to be obedient and just be content with my space and my place that I was in, and learn how to serve God in that. Because, it's easy to say, it's easy to do what you want to do, or it's easy to do what God tells you to do when God is answering your prayers and you're getting the responses that you want. But when God is saying, nah, not right now, shawty, you need to chill, or he's like, you know, putting you in this little corner.
Right.
Like, so you're not giving me what I want, but you still want me to be obedient to you. And I think for me that
Right.
that lesson was a bit more
No,
complex
that's dope. That's crazy.
than I wanted it to, because I'm like, it shouldn't work. You know, like they don't tell you like, oh yeah, the answer, like no answer is the answer. Like, you know, like you don't hear that growing up. You always hear pray until something happens. Like just keep on. And then as you get older and you begin to learn that, like, that's like, you know, you have a son, so that's like him asking you the same thing over and over again after you've given him the answer, or even ignoring him. Like, I think we forget to put it in those realistic perspectives sometimes, as opposed to, you know, because God isn't literally a physical being in front of us. We think that just because he has that still soft voice that, oh, maybe I'm missing it. No, you're not missing it. You're looking for something else. You're not looking for what he's giving you.
It was never taught to me that you have to also be patient, and even not just what patience is, okay, what does it look like? As I'm sitting here like, okay, God, I'm praying to you, but now I'm getting more frustrated. So my patience is getting very, very thin, but I'm supposed to be challenged. I'm supposed to be learning through my patience. And I didn't even know that was a thing. And the elders didn't tell me that was people who were older, who led the way before me, didn't tell me that patience is a thing. And yes, you continue to keep praying, but however, that is your patience. That is you showing God, whatever you're going to give me, I'm willing to wait for it, or whatever you're going to provide for me, I'm willing to see that thing through. But we're so at this moment, we're so gratifying. So I need to get it now. I need to get it quick. And we don't know what it looks like to be patient. We don't even know how to be patient, because patience to us is, okay, now I'm done. Now let's do it. Now you let's
Right.
get it. Let's get it. Let's go. And that's not true. And we don't want to work for it. So it was a struggle for me to learn obedience and to learn patience. Through that one, I mean, both of those through one experience. As an adult, it's just like crazy how you can still be learning as an adult. It's crazy.
I have an aunt, and she's maybe in her mid to late 50s. But I have like admired her faith for as long as I can remember. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I was basically alluding to the fact that, like, you know, you have this amazing relationship with God. How did you get there? And at what point do you feel like you became good at it? You know, because we see those elders, like you talked about, and we think, oh, that's the standard. That's what I need to look up to. That's what I need to get to. And she was like, even at this age, even as a mom and a grandmother and all these titles that she wears, she's still learning who God is. Like, she's still growing in her faith. And I think it's amazing that regardless of your season, there's still more growth that you need to experience. And it's just like God continues to show us that he's bigger than our imagination. Like, he's bigger than what we can see before us. And we have to then step within ourselves and say, you know, what do I need to change about the way I'm seeking God so that I can continue to grow and experience his boundlessness through my relationships? You know, like, I think that we oftentimes forget, and we think that, you know, oh, I made it to this point, I'm good, like that's it. But your season's going to change soon. Or even if your season doesn't change, like there's still adjustments that need to be made to accommodate the gap between you and where God is. So you are a single mom to a 9-year-old. What does obedience look like for you in that aspect of your life? And then how do you then teach him about obedience?
For me, I've been trying to give him the tools to be independent and the tools to know what it looks like to build his own relationship and his own resources, so that he knows how to maneuver through being a 9-year-old boy in an area where, one, it doesn't look like him, 2, they don't act like him, and 3, they don't have the same household as him. So I want him to be able to get those things, and through my love and through my actions, show him that obedience, what it looks like for me as an adult, and then he can take whatever is necessary for him as a 9-year-old. I don't remember what it was as a 9-year-old. So, and I, for dang sure, am not a male, so I don't know what that looks like for him. I can only give him the tools so that he can use what he needs to understand what obedience is. I'm putting him in Bible schools, and I'm putting him in praise and worship, and I'm putting him in karate and things like that to show him obedience in different venues, so that he can learn to take away what he needs to be obedient, and to make sure that he builds it on his own. However, I may not be doing this thing right. I don't know. I'm just going off of what I was taught, looking at my mom and learning from my mom. You know, my mom's experience. My mom is no longer here, so I'm doing the best that I can with what I saw through her. So then when you ask me, what does that look like for me? That looks like allowing him to learn what obedience is, allowing him to learn what trust is, allowing him to fail. And I can be there to be like, it's okay. You know, you can fail, it'll be all right. However, what did you learn from that? Having those hard conversations, being there when it doesn't work, being there when it does work. And even if he doesn't see the things that he's supposed to see, then we can go back and we can, again, like God does, test us again. We'll go through that again and keep it moving until he learns, okay, this is what obedience is for me.
I mean, I've been to your household. I've seen the dynamic and the dialogue between you and your son, and I think it's amazing. The comfort he has with you and the level of openness, and just you can see the trust, you know, like you just in the way that he behaves, and or even like when you send him places without you know, like there's a level of understanding that when you leave or when I'm not around, there's still a standard that we're upholding. And I think, I don't know, it's just something that I've always admired, because I don't know very many single parents that are between our ages. And to see you doing it so well with such elegance, and you're actually teaching him the principles of the Bible, and you're teaching him, you know, what it looks like to have a relationship with God, and you're teaching him what it looks like to go to church and to serve, and to sacrifice your time and to sacrifice things, and even fasting. Like I remember one time you had him fasting when the church was fasting, and I was just like, I think he was like 8 at the time, and I was like, wow, I was not fasting at 8 years old. But I mean, I say that to say, I think you're doing an amazing job. I think that he is an amazing, sweet boy, and he's going to become an amazing man. But I think that you also just have to give yourself credit and recognize that, one, it's not easy, but then two, you've never done this before. Like this is your first time raising him on this day at this age,
right,
you know, with these surroundings. Because we forget to give ourselves grace. We forget to be kind to ourselves. We forget that we need to treat ourselves the same way we just treated that person that we had a conversation with, or that person that we don't even know. We're our own worst enemy sometimes, and I think that we have to remember that. We have to remember that. It's funny because hearing myself talk about this, I know in church they always talk about how God says to love your neighbor as yourself. For me personally, I think that at least that scripture in my life for a while was backwards, because I treated my neighbor better than I would treat myself.
Me too.
And so it's like, I don't really think you want me to treat them like I treat myself. But I mean, it makes sense, because it's our human nature to be selfish and to be self-contained and to be focused on our desires and the things that make us feel and look better. But then it's also in our nature to be sacrificial and to be giving and to, you know, do these things that are for others. But I think in doing that, we put more emphasis on, hey, I have to be perfect. Hey, I have to, you know, I have to do it this way or it's not good enough. As opposed to just saying like, hey, you know, you did it. You gave it your best shot. Let's, you know, either try again or move on to the next thing, whatever you feel is right for you.
In obedience, when you're treating your neighbors better, that is obedient to what level, and how does that look, or what is the result in turn of that?
No, that's a really good point. If I'm understanding you correctly, you're basically saying that what's the level of obedience that you've reached when you begin treating your neighbor better than you treat yourself, correct? I think that that's a good that's a good thought-provoking
right. And then if you're not being obedient and treating your neighbor better or whatever, and you're treating yourself better, that is going to be one, your lack of obedience, and then who knows of course your blessings won't be abundant, but who knows what would happen if you just have a trickling effect, because we know we have, you know, imperfections everywhere, but I wonder what that looks like, if there's a biblical teaching story that will go with you're not treating your neighbors better, or if you are treating your neighbors better for that case, just to see what that looks like.
Yeah. Wow. That I'm just stumped by that. So you're saying that based on the fact that we don't treat ourselves as good as we treat our neighbors, you're not being obedient. No. I'm saying it wrong. My understanding of what you're saying is we treat ourselves poorly but we treat our neighbors better, so that makes us obedient, correct?
Or no, it makes us disobedient. So, I mean, is there a situation that makes us not being obedient because we're not equally doing it successfully, or there's no equal balance in that, and we are our worst enemies? So then does that, I don't know. It's just I just like, wait a minute, I need to go back and look at that part of obedience.
I think just hearing you say that, I think that that does require obedience, because that scripture insinuates or implies that you should be loving yourself, that you should be honor. Because I mean, think about it. The Bible talks about all the time how you need to honor your body, and that you need to appreciate the gifts that God has given you. You need to do all these things to basically show God that you appreciate him by appreciating yourself. If you are like, I hate my body, I hate this, I hate that, you're basically telling God, like, the creation or the gift that you've created is not worthy of celebration.
It's not enough.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so I would argue that in treating your neighbor or in not treating yourself with the standard that God has set before you, that's disobedience. But then also, so I the way I see it in my mind is, I'm treating myself like this right here, and I'm treating my neighbor like this up here, but not out of obedience to the word. I'm treating it in that dynamic out of insecurity and out of insignificance and out of not understanding the gift that I am, and the gift that I possess. And I would definitely say that is definitely in obedience or disobedience, mm-hmm. because like I said, you're not giving yourself the quality and the worth that God says you are. And that you're basically just like slapping him in the face, saying like, mm-hmm. This isn't a quality gift. Like, try again, you messed up.
Your work is not perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so then I wonder, so forward with the insecurities, then to me, your work, the thing that you need to be doing, like your takeaway would be, okay, so what is driving me to treat myself less than what I treat my others? So when you were doing this, what is keeping me here, mm-hmm. and what is not getting me to this level, this empty space that's between these two, what is that? Identifying it, and then is that the areas in which you've been challenged in identifying those things? Because obviously that's where you lack the security, that's where you lack understanding about yourself. And so with all of this, I want to be obedient, but you're not being obedient enough to see and realize that there is an area of gray that you need to be addressing. Mm-hmm. So then you would have to kind of, I guess, journal or dive into that. But yeah, it was just something that I just was like,
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, what's coming to mind right now is faith without works is dead. Because you talked about how you have to work to get to that next level. I think you have to first recognize the standard, not the standard, you have to recognize the gap. And then in recognizing the gap, you have to then do the work to be able to bridge the gap and connect those two playing fields, so that you can then begin to genuinely treat them better than you would treat yourself.
But faith without work is dead. But I also feel like the underlying idea of that is trust. So if you're not trusting and you're not going to him without let him know it's something that I'm struggling in, then you'll. So if you don't trust him in that, then the faith that you are supposed to believe in is dead. It's no longer there. You actually killed it by not being obedient, by not trusting him, by not putting forth the whatever thing that you want to put forth to him, since it would be your insecurity. And so I think that yes, that scripture holds truth because of the trust factor, and that may be the insecurity, is that you lack trust. I would have said, go into my life and dig deep, and I don't even know we got time like that. So, yeah.
Dang, this is good. Speaking to my life right now. Let's talk about obedience in relationship. That concept for me in and of itself is like a gut-wrenching, like scary, thought-provoking, like, do I really even want to open that door? Because one, to have genuine and authentic relationship, you first have to have a genuine and authentic relationship with God. your relationships with people and on this earth should reflect the love that you have for the Father and how he is able to give you love, and then you then share that love with someone else. If you are not obedient in receiving his love with an authentic, genuine, open heart, there's no way you can then share that love with anyone else with compassion and with vulnerability and with honesty and trust and humility. What would you say is your most difficult relationship right now in terms of obedience?
It would be my relationship in the workplace. It's a struggle with building authentic relationships, and I know that he's pressing me and telling me, you know, I have you in this place because you need to be stretched in an area in which you're most uncomfortable. It's easy for me to go to work, do what I got to do, now the relationships. The last 3 years I've done my work. I probably would say that I have a better relationship with my students than my coworkers, and they're the adults, if that makes sense. Just to give you kind of like what that has looked like for the last 3 years. Oh God, I'm here. You know, I put myself in this environment that's, you know, that's stretching me. However, he's like, no, you need to go into the other classrooms and get to know the person who is a non-believer now, who doesn't want to believe in me, who has so much church that everything that comes out of her mouth is, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in church. I don't believe in you need to show her your love, and you need to show her what it looks like to be a Christian. He wants me to go into the next door of a person who is a believer and just kind of get to know her, because when you come together, you know, it's a greater thing. And then he's like, okay, well, now you have another goal. You have to go into her room, and just she doesn't know right now what it looks like to be apart from her husband, and she needs your love to show her that you're here to support her. So I need you to be a voice for me, be able for me, and go out and do that. Now, has that been easy for the last 3 years? Heck no. They don't look like me. They don't understand what it is to be a parent. So me being obedient and hearing from him, I'm like, okay, God, why do I have to be the one that has to do these things? Like, why do I have to be that person? Why can't it be someone else? Like, why can't I go and do something else in another situation? Like, why does it have to be me? And he's just like, I'm waiting on you. You can sit here and say why all day, but until you do, you won't see the reason why you're here. You won't see your purpose. You won't understand it in full light because you're not being obedient.
Right.
And it's been a true struggle day to day. Like, okay, I have to go in here and be more intentional about building a relationship. I have to be more intentional about, you know, showing and being and praising him. Like, I have to do those things. And this year, I've done those things, and the growth in the team has looked so different. The dynamics have looked so different. Because of the fact that we trust each other more, and the fact of the matter that we, you know, have each other's back. So it was a lot for us, but it definitely has been one of those areas in which relationships and obedience, if you're not willing to put in the work and you're not willing to be obedient, you will not have a successful relationship. Or it can be successful. I think it just will be surface level. It won't be deeper than surface.
Yeah. I have challenged myself this year with doing more things that scare me, whether that be talking to a stranger or saying how I feel in a welcoming environment, or, you know, just whatever that looks like for me. And I think that for me, that what you're talking about would be scary, but I think it's important for us to continue to trust the process and stretch ourselves, because one, if God didn't think you were equipped to do those things, he wouldn't be calling you to do it. He wouldn't put you in that situation. There's been plenty of times when I was supposed to do something for someone and I don't do it. And I'm like, dang, like, I really wish I would have done that. Like, I really wish I could have had that impact on that person. Yeah. And I think that we don't give ourselves enough credit, because you're brave enough, you're strong enough, you're bold enough. You were made for this. So if you just it's like a trust fall. You know, like, you just have to trust that God is going to catch you when you let go of your guard and your anxiety and your iniquities and just let him have it. So hearing you talk about that really reminded me that we have to be fearless, but with boundaries. Like, we have to know that the things that we're doing, we were called to do those things based on God's context, not me saying like, hey, I just want to go out here and do this thing today because it looks fun. Nah, I'm not feeling that. Like, that's not, if he didn't call me to do it, I shouldn't be. Nah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that with obedience comes being submissive, comes a true relationship. And it's, for me as an adult, that when people hear submission, they just be like, okay, I'm gonna run, I'm done. Like, I'm not submitting to nobody. But you have friendships and you have to submit in your relationship with whatever who you decide to love. So yeah. Mm-hmm. I think my obedience comes with being able to just listen, being able to just be like, okay, they don't like this from me. So how do I change this? And if it's not just one person, it's more than one person, then obviously there's some areas of reflection. I challenge anyone just to check in with your friends on a one-on-one basis, have lunch, break bread, do something, have them pick what they want to do, and actually enjoy learning about your friend, like real talk. Like, it's just that simple, and it will be so much impactful in life.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
It was hard. Like, I didn't learn that until late, and I'm 35, and I didn't learn that until just now. So I don't know. If someone would have told me that 25 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, it would have definitely helped some of my friendships.
Yeah, but I think that God knows our character. He knows our plan and our path. And so I don't want to say expendable, because no person, no heart, no soul is expendable. But God knew that relationship was not for long term. He knew that was a season that you needed to learn something. And that that lesson was the only thing that you could get from that person. You couldn't get depth and you couldn't get I'm trying to find a better way to say this. You couldn't get soulful penetration or vulnerability through that in the way that you now can get it through your current relationships.
Yeah, that's true. And every friendship is not always going to be lifetime, but I mean, it's just, if you could go back and if you think about the last 10 or 5 relationships you had and what you did in those relationships and what you could have done better, that's where I was reflecting on what could I have done better in those relationships that I didn't do, and taking control of what I can do. Anything that anybody else can do for them, like, they have to do it and choose for themselves. But what could I have done to make it a better relationship? And none of it was my fault. Like, I didn't reach out. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I didn't do those things. So I want to become a better person in that area.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know what this will bring. I do know that allowing this platform is vital. So I thank you for even allowing your obedience to shine through, having the constant videos and the constant conversations, because it's needed. We just have to have someone to do the work. So I thank you too for putting in the work, because I know I could do it.
Thank you for saying that. That means a lot. In the beginning, for me, it was all about obedience. God gave me a word and he said, go make these videos. And in my mind, I'm like, God, I have no idea how to record a video. Like, I have no idea, I don't know how to edit a video. I don't know how to record. I'm not doing none of that stuff, but I'm like, okay, I had just come off this season of like, I'm on my high with God. I'm like sold out. So I'm like, okay, that's what you said, do. I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna figure it out as I go along. And even just the progression of the videos, like from the first video that I did in your house to now, it's like, I've seen so much growth. And for me, it's really not even about the following that I get or the people or how many views. And, it's more so just about the content that's shared, because there could be one person that watches this video, and there could be literally 1 minute of something that we say that impacts their life forever. At the end of the day, I just want to be able to say, God told me to do it. And when he said to do it, I was obedient. And my obedience was honored because I was diligent in responding to the word that he gave me.
My word this year for 2019 is perspective. And one of the things that I wanted to do it, and I was okay with doing it, is because I wanted to get another perspective. There is always a one-track mind. No blinders on, no other road.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm hoping that it gives perspective to someone else. So thank you so much for perspectives are important. So thanks so much.
It is my pleasure. Thank you
Anytime.
for sharing. This has been really good. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Testimony Tuesday as much as I did. I hope that you will join us next week. I hope that you were blessed by this in some way. And don't forget to keep on
going with him.